I'll give you the latest update on Russian economy today. The big picture and the current status. If I were to summarize today's message in one sentence, it'd be, this is it. Let's take a look at the country that goes mad, attacks its neighbor, a country whose economy's well-being is heavily dependent on other countries through natural resources exports. And right after the attack, other countries cut off most economic ties with the aggressor. They say, we don't need your business anymore. They place economic sanctions. The economy of the aggressor is doomed. It's just a matter of time, probably a couple years. Well, what does the government of an aggressor does? What does it do then? It starts playing a wicked mind game that leads to an ultimate disaster. Stage 1. Government authorities of all levels start pushing an agenda called the more they try to weaken us, the stronger we become. That's how I call this agenda. They scream loudly on top of their lungs everywhere, so they make sure that everyone hears them screaming. We're doing fine, better than ever, bring it on. The sanctions are making us stronger. We will finally get up from our knees. We'll get rid of all foreign companies and replace them with our own ones. We will switch from dollar payments to ruble payments. We will circumvent all the sanctions that they throw into us. While they are screaming, it's all good, simultaneously they sugarcoat economy with whatever resources they have, infusing it with stimulus money. It all comes down to stimulus money. Stage 1 lasts for as long as aggressors' resources last. But resources are limited. One day, savings account dries up and there's zero there. Then stage 2 kicks in. The message changes to the very opposite. We're doing fine, better than ever, changes to all is bad, but it's not our fault. Of course, we are in the decline. We are the most sanctioned country in the world. It's the enemies. They want us to see on our knees. They have put so much economic pressure on us. It is obvious things are getting bad. At this point, some people wake up and try to put authorities to the spot. They say, but you told us not too long ago that the sanctions were making us stronger. Did you lie to us, or you're simply an incompetent leader? Who, me? I never said that. What are you, crazy to believe that the sanctions are good for us? You crazy to believe that the sanctions are making us better? Are you an idiot? Are you insane? But I have it on film, you saying that. On film? It wasn't me. No, of course it wasn't me. It's all fake. It's AI. Tempered with. I could never say that. But wait, I personally, myself, witnessed you saying that. You trying to rock the boat. You're a foreign agent acting on behalf of the enemy. KGB. Get over here, take this guy, 20 years in prison, make sure you leave the windows open in the cell. That's the stage 2. Please forgive me for this little performance. And after a while, things get so bad that people just try to survive. The authorities shut up and keep silent, as if economic situation is none of their concern. At that point, everyone in the government is trying to find a safe exit, knowing that the punishment is imminent. They start turncoating, blaming each other, fingerprint pointing, all those wonderful things. Situation becomes chaotic, and that is Stage 3. Stage 3 ends when the chaos is maximum and the pressure cannot be held any longer. The stage 4 is usually a revolution. Russia is at stage 2 right now, heading to the stage 3 fast. Howdy, howdy, friends. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russian explained by the unusual Russian. As usual, you will not find here lies, propaganda, or BS, but will find plenty of truth, common sense, and logic, and emotions too, because I'm still a human being. I forecast there will be 3 prevailing trends in Russia in 2025. Please forgive me for being a little short on breath. I'm still not feeling 100%. Still kind of like feverish and sweating and all those things. I'm trying. All right, so three trends in 2025. First trend is declining economy. That's what I've been talking about for the past 2 years, and that's what I'm gonna talk today. Second is declining army/peace talks, and third is political instability. Peace talks and political instability are tomorrow, but economy is today. It's yesterday, today, and tomorrow morning. The decline in the economy is happening right now, in front of our eyes. Every week brings us new information. I do not need to forecast anything any longer. All I have to do is just to give you facts, to update you on what's happening in Russia. There's plenty of new information to share with you right now, and this is what I intend to do right now. As usual, talk is cheap. Let's look at the numbers, and I'll start with letting the big boys speak today instead of me, This is Mikhail Mishustin, Russia's prime minister, number 2 after Putin, his successor by the constitution, in case something happens to that wonderful man. So they're talking, about economy, about the numbers, specifically about GDP. Putin is bringing the attention to Mishustin that Росстат, Russia's information statistics agency, has just come up with a fresh data for 2024. And Mishustin is bragging. He's saying that GDP is actually bigger than they expected. 4.5%. And this is gold. Now, I want you to listen to this. It's in Russian. I'll translate just in a second. Listen to this. So let me translate. He says, after all careful counting, we received nominal GDP of Russian Federation, historical maximum, 200 trillion rubles. Russia has not been doing better than in 2024. 200 trillion rubles GDP. Yahoo! Hooray! Banzai! Now, I want you to take a look at Putin closely. He doesn't really look thrilled. I'm loving this picture. I've watched over and over and over. Just this little part, a few seconds. This guy is happy. He's, giving him numbers. Putin... I love it. I just love it. Folks, I want you to take a good look at it. That's how Putin is taking information about Russia's GDP historic maximum. Not too thrilled. I would interpret this, He's probably thinking, what are you smoking? But that's not it. No. Well, Mishustin's job is to report to Putin good numbers, okay? And Putin is clearly not happy because that was the show for the Russian people, okay? Putin knows. Putin knows exactly what is happening, okay? Record high GDP in 2024. An economic miracle, no less. That's a little catch. Tiny little, tiny speck of dust catch. The catch is called accounting Russia's nominal GDP in devalued rubles. Remember that Russian ruble lost around 30% of its value in the last 4 months of 2024. Well, it's convenient to count everything in rubles. Everything, as we know, is bigger in Texas, and everything also is bigger when is accounted in rubles. Let's count in US dollars. So we kind of bring it down to the common ground, okay? Now, GDP of Russia in 2024 amounted to around $2 trillion. And before the war with Ukraine, it started in 2022, Russia's GDP was $2.3 trillion. Mishustin, the prime minister, tells us Russia's GDP, nominal GDP, is historic high. But then, on the other hand, if we kind of do math, put 2 and 2 together, 2 dots together, we see that used to be $0.3 trillion, now it's $2.3 trillion, now it's $2 trillion. That's that's more than 10% lower. Historic high. Nice. But you know what? Who counts in dollars these days? It's unpatriotic. By the way, there's another miracle came out from Росстат, Russia's statistics agency. Росстат, right before this meeting, and probably for this meeting, for the purpose of the reporting to Putin, Россtат gave an estimate of GDP for 2024. The growth is 4.1%, higher than expected. Expected was 3.9%, but that's not surprising because these numbers, hey, historic high GDP, right? We can write any number we want. That's the Россtат. But the revision of the data for 22 and 23 is absolutely a sensation. Россtат showed extremely uncharacteristic modesty, increasing real GDP growth only by 0.25 percentage points in 2022 and 23. At the same time, the estimate for 2022 retrospectively was revised down, which has never happened to Россtат before, to Russia before. So in 2022, Россtат gave us some real GDP numbers, and the numbers held for 2023 and 2025. I mean, why would they change, right? Россtат gives us numbers for 2022, and then in 2025, he changes it. The decline in GDP in 2022 is now estimated at minus 1.4%. Previously, it was minus 1.2%. So by 0.2, they downgraded 2022. To be honest with you, still to this moment, I'm sitting as an economist, I'm sitting there and thinking, what the hell is that? I don't understand. How can the statistics agency, the state-owned statistics agency that produces statistics for everything, how can it go and downgrade the economy, GDP, real GDP, 3 years ago? Was there a mistake made? Perhaps they uncovered some forgery? No, they don't say. Just, hey, we downgrade. 0.2% less. All right. Smells manipulation all over. I think it's an understatement. A few things I noticed. Remember, I talk about the economy today. A few things I noticed recently while looking through Putin's speeches and the information he gives. Why I started talking about stages of Russia's decline, and why I said that this is stage 2. Putin started in Russia, we said, putting down the straw on the hard floor, okay? When you know that you're going to fall, then you put something soft in advance. So that's exactly what Putin started doing. Putin meeting with Mishustin, this meeting right here.
Вчера вечером докладывал о том, что мы получили данные Росстата.
He admitted that inflation is high in Russia, and it's a challenge to all of us. Now, in 2022, he wasn't saying much about the economy. There was a mess on the front lines, and he was concerned with different things. But in 2023, he started telling us, 2 years ago, he started telling us that things were absolutely fine. Russia was getting up from its knees, circumventing sanctions. Russian economy was growing and so forth. And inflation is low. He said one of the victories that we have is the inflation is under control. It's 4.5%, I think. That's what the estimate target was for 2023. And Putin made inflation and low unemployment his key points. In many public speeches, he said, look, this is the key indicators that we're doing fine. Inflation is under control, low, fairly low, and unemployment is low. Now, for the first time in 3 years, he admitted that Russia has high inflation and it's a challenge to all of us, he said. Then he also changed his numbers and his stand on economy growth throughout the year, 2024. In the beginning of 2024, he was very optimistic about the growth of Russian economy. Then in August of 2024, a few months ago, he publicly stated that the economy growth was expected at 4.6%. And in December, just a month ago, he was speaking, making his address, and he brought up the issue of economic growth. And he said, well, we don't really need that much. It's going to be 2%. So, that's, I kid you not, that's what he said. Well, at least that's what he suggested. For the first time, Putin has admitted that there is a problem with economic growth. Vladimir Putin, also meeting Mikhail Mishustin, suggested the government to return to the methods of control of the economy that Russian state was applying throughout CV-19 epidemic. That situation was pretty dire in 2020, and in 2021 we didn't know what was going to happen. We knew that everything went to hell. We knew that the economy took a huge hit. There was a quarantine, people were not allowed to get outside, the businesses were shut down, they were hurting. That was a mess. And the Putin stepped in and he said, we gotta have control over the economy for a short, limited time until we get the situation with the CV-19 under control. And now he's saying that method of controlling the economy should be brought back. Now, why? CV-19 was a huge chaos, economic chaos. And then Putin understands that the very same chaos, probably even more, not probably, but definitely even more, has descended upon Russia right now. And the government, the state needs to step in to somehow try to control the situation. That's going to finish it off, but at least state will benefit. Okay, having control, making sure that people get paid and so forth. But there will be no free economy any longer in Russia. It's been being killed already, but that Putin is going to finish it off. Now, how the state is going to control the economy soon? Russian state will set up what's called the industry commissions that will monitor enterprises of certain industries and will have absolute power to make decisions for the companies that the companies will have to comply with without court orders. Basically, this commission will be given, I would say, close to absolute power. Will be able to not let companies go to bankruptcy. Will be controlling how it pays salaries or doesn't pay salaries. It will be controlling setting up prices for products, quantities of production, and so forth. I mean, that's not a good situation. Basically, these commissions will be, again, they will have absolute power over private companies. And, they wanted the USSR back. People of Russia get the USSR back. That's pretty much what it was in the USSR. Only there weren't any private companies, only state-owned. But hey, once the state controls your company, it's not yours anymore, right? So this reason for this very unpopular, very scary decision is the massive troubles in different industries in Russia. And I'm gonna name you a few industries. Quite a few of them are in big trouble. Some are collapsing, and a couple have collapsed already. Number one, coal industry. It has already collapsed. Most coal enterprises, they're located in Siberia. If you look at the map of Russia, there, Kuzbas region is where Russian best coal is, and that's somewhere in the middle of the map in Siberia. So China stopped buying Russian coal, and that collapsed Russian industry because that's the biggest and basically the only significant customer that Russian coal companies have. Collapse. People are not being paid. There is no money coming in. And the government doesn't know what to do. The local government of Kuzbas province is in shock. There is a huge problem in Kuzbas, and there have been news in the last 2 weeks that due to lack of funding, Kuzbas province government has started laying off government employees. Guess who they started with? Kindergarten teachers. Yes, kindergarten teachers are being laid off for one simple reason: there's no money to pay them. That kind of shows you the magnitude of the problem. Now, obviously, Putin wants to make an institution, coal industry commission, that would step in and would try to salvage whatever is salvageable, but at the expense of owners of private companies. Number two, Russian government has announced that it is developing a plan to save ferrous metals industry in Russia. There is a huge problem, almost the magnitude of the coal problem. Ferrous metals, it's a large part of Russian economy, and Russia has lots of metal ores, and it has large metallurgical plants. Ores are processed into metals, steel, things like that. And Russian companies are under sanctions, and China is not buying Russian metal anymore. And the demand for metal in the world has dropped, and the prices have dropped too. So Russian companies are in big, big trouble, and Russian government knows that, and it is about to create a special commission, Ferrous Metals Industry Commission, Ferrous Metals Industry Commission, and it'll be trying to salvage whatever is left of the industry. And their methods of salvaging, I wouldn't want to be owner of a company in that industry, okay? Number 3, Russian government has announced that it is developing a plan to save wood and pulp metals industry. I'm sorry, not pulp metals, wood and pulp industry. This industry has appeared on a trouble map recently in the last few months, but it's the same kind of problem. Russian companies are under sanctions, and the customers abroad aren't buying Russian pulp and Russian wood as much, or the sales have dropped tremendously. The entire industry is in trouble. Russian government is trying to estimate the catastrophe right now, and they're developing a special plan to save the industry, but they also are in the process of organizing wood and pulp industry commission that is going to be salvaging. I wouldn't want to work in that industry, because it's not just government will be seizing property. A lot of people got to go to prison because they got to blame someone, okay? Same goes for non-ferrous industry. There's a huge problem with Russian aluminum. There are 3 origins of trouble. First is China is not buying as much aluminum any longer. Second is Rusal, are Russia's largest aluminum company, and one of the world's largest companies is under sanctions, and they go in February. They're going to take another package of sanctions, and Rusal is going to be there, and that's going to finish the company off. And then there's another problem for Rusal, and that's a general problem. There are aluminum production plants, large ones, are opening all over the world. Indonesia has commenced great capacity for aluminum, so there's simply more supply of aluminum now. And Russian aluminum is considering many options right now. I know that there is an emergency plan in the company. They're trying to figure out what to do, and the same goes for Norilsk Nickel. Okay, that's one of the world's largest producer of nickel. And they just ordered a very, very big market research. They're trying to understand what to do next. And one of the plans is to move production to China, closer to the customer, and it's going to be cheaper and more effective to make nickel there. But it's a crazy idea, if you ask me, but that's what they're really considering. I don't know if Russian state will allow that, but there will be an industry commission, and I guess it's going to be up to it. Number 4, auto transportation. Russia is a very large country, and you need a lot of trucks to transport things from one part of Russia to another part, especially now since the war is going on, and a lot of products, a lot of minerals are produced, processed, extracted in the western part, and they need to be shipped to the eastern part of the country. But auto transportation is in deep crisis, and the companies are warning that in order to stay in business, the tariffs for auto transporting should be doubled soon. Doubled. Without that, it's really hard for them to survive. The reasons, fewer drivers, because drivers are taken to the war by truckloads, literally. Higher price of gas and smaller availability, lower availability of gas, diesel fuel, because of the attacks of Russian processing plants by the Ukrainian drones. And, working for, the gearing towards war production. General inflation as well, a lack of spare parts, lack of service people for the Western-made trucks. That all brings the situation in auto transportation industry in Russia to a pretty dire situation. Again, a special commission, industry commission, will be created according to Vladimir Putin, and it's going to be taking care of things. We'll see how it goes. But half of the companies, some experts saying that half of the companies, transportation companies, are expected to declare bankruptcies in 2025 and 2026. Half. Think about it. Half of the companies. Number 5, aviation industry. Oh, that's one big, huge problem. We all know why. All the planes that fly in Russia, and the decent planes, are Boeings and Airbuses, and they are illegal anywhere but inside Russia because they're considered stolen. Russian airlines stopped paying leasing contracts in 2022, and those airplanes cannot fly out of Russia. They'll be arrested immediately. And the manufacturers do not provide spare parts, services. And how do you service Boeing, Airbus? Well, you fly it to Europe, to a special factory service station, and that's service there. But if you can't do that, then you're kind of out of planes, and you have to cannibalize, but you can only cannibalize so much. The prices for Russian passengers, for Russians, are going through the roof. It's becoming unaffordable to travel by air, just like it was in the USSR. One big, huge trouble. Number 6, the utilities. Oh, don't even get me started. It's actually, the utilities not in a catastrophical shape right now because of one simple reason. Russia is having a mild winter. If it was a regular Russian winter, cold one, we'd be seeing catastrophe all over Russia, just like as it was happening last year when it was cold. Well, still, utilities break down, the power plants, the gas stations, the compressor stations, the transmission distribution, the high voltage lines, high voltage transformers blow up in large numbers. Take city of Novosibirsk. A breakdown after breakdown after breakdown. Recently, 250,000 people were without hot water and electricity, for some time. Take Rostov-on-Don, a southern city. Every single day there are breakdowns in the heat mains throughout the city. This hot water all over the streets, and just like the scenes from my childhood. Anyway, the utilities keep on breaking, and there's not much can be done. You need to spend money to maintain, to fix, and there's no money. You need to spare parts, and there's no spare parts. Siemens does not sell spare parts for its turbines, neither GE or Mitsubishi, And of course, you need people. And a lot of people from the utilities industry are fighting in the front lines. Number 7, real estate industry. Oh, don't even get me started there. Trouble. New construction, near zero sales. For one simple reason, 21% key interest rate, makes mortgages start at 30% annual. You can't take out mortgage any longer. It's just simply crazy. And you people don't have money to actually pay for apartments or houses because, Russia isn't enjoying the best economic situation, probably the worst since 1991 right now. And people paying more and more for everything. The inflation is going up, and real estate is simply one of those things that they just don't buy. Number 8. Probably the highest expense that is expected hasn't been spent at this point, but everyone keeps forgetting about that. Why bring to your attention? It's the new territories that Russia stole from Ukraine. Mariupol, a part of Kharkov province, Donetsk, Lugansk, burnt land. The cities are razed, roads non-existent, all infrastructure is gone. There's literally burnt land, and Russia is supposed to restore all of that. Before this expense, right, before this new territories, I gave you 7 industries that are in trouble. And as economist, as person who's been in business for pretty much most of his life in Russia, I can somehow estimate in rubles, in dollars, what the state needs for every industry. Well, granted, I'm not expert in every industry, all right? But I can use my expertise, general expertise, and give you numbers. The thing is, for number 8, for the new territories, I have no clue how much money Russia needs to build new cities, villages, new roads, new power plants, new high voltage lines, new civil infrastructure, schools, universities, theaters that it bombed, it destroyed. I think it's going to take trillions of dollars. That's Russia's entire economy. That's Russia's GDP, $2 trillion. Again, this is just a number out there. I don't know how much, but from what I understand, this is huge, humongous. Ginormous, whatever. It's the largest number I simply don't know. And there is something that no one is talking about in Russia right now, and that is the provincial deficits. Oh, it's a good one. I simply am amazed how people who live in Russia in different provinces, they don't really pay attention because it's their money, it's their budgets, it's their salaries, it's their money that they get paid from the state. There are 2 types of budgets in Russia. Federal budget that is consolidated in, well, all money is in Moscow, right? It gives money to different subjects of Russian Federation provinces, and it has direct spendings. That's the federal budget. But there's also provincial budgets. Some provincial taxes fill up the budget, and the provincial budgets pay for, just like in Kuzbas, they started laying off kindergarten teachers. That's where the money comes from provincial budgets. Guess what? The war in Ukraine is also paid by the provincial budgets. A lot of aid is going to the new territories from provincial budgets because they're trying to build new apartment blocks in Mariupol and such. That's not the federal budget, that's provincial budgets of different provinces. You've heard many times in my live streams, I talk about how the state in Russia pays a sign-up bonuses to anyone willing to go and fight in Ukraine in the front lines. And right now, the highest sign-up bonus I've heard is 4 million rubles. Yes, 4 million rubles. That is about $40,000. That comes out of provincial budget. Imagine all sign-up bonuses, 720,000 Russian men who have signed up according to Putin. They received a huge amount of money, sign-up bonuses. All came out of provincial budgets. Now all provincial budgets are in red, all of them. And the next step they're gonna do is go to the Kremlin and say, hey, we need money. What happens next? Where does the Kremlin get money from? It's run out of dry. That is a huge problem. And I think that this is one of the reasons Vladimir Putin is trying to take complete control over Russian economy. Okay, so they just stop paying some people or cut their salaries or eliminate jobs or things like that. Without these measures, Russian state will not survive. This is the demise. That's what I've been saying. Oh, Russian economy is demising and so forth. We're seeing it right now. All right. These are the biggest problems that Russian economy has right now. Okay. It is under huge pressure. And the regions under pressure are northwest of Russia. Yes, northwest around St. Petersburg. Ural region, Kuzbas in Siberia. Okay. Another big problem that has popped up all of a sudden, well, kind of expected, but no one was thinking about it. This problem is called неплатежи. Boy, you know, it's adding up as a perfect storm or a tsunami. It's all at once now. Неплатежи is simply non-payments. It was a problem in the 90s as far as I remember. Non-payments is you provide a service or you sell something to a company, B2B, and the company doesn't pay you because of fraud or it simply doesn't have the money. For example, it sells something to the government, it delivers the product, and it buys something from you and it needs to pay you a part, for example, and there's another company that sells another part, and so there are 3 subcontractors, and there's a company sells something to the government, and the government simply doesn't pay this company, and this company doesn't pay us, subcontractors, and we don't pay whoever we own, and that is what was called неплатежи. This is a big problem, was a big problem in the 90s, and the government was actually trying to help with this problem. I barely remembered, but I think there was also some kind of a commission, комиссия по неплатежам, commission of non-payment, something like that. And this is the fact of 2025. Неплатежи are back. This is going to be a chain reaction, like a domino effect. I'm not get paid, I don't pay who I own, and that company who owes those who supplied something, it doesn't pay them, so it's like a domino effect. Another big problem for Russia. Now, enough of large stuff, you know. I want to give you some economic potpourri, so to speak, you know. Small signs of problems of what is happening right now on the ground, so to speak. Because before I was telling you of large industries and large problems, consumer goods. So it's 2025. Economy, according to Mishustin, it's a record high, historic high, and it's 200 trillion rubles. It's fantastic, you know. What's happening with the consumer goods? Well, Over notebooking. The notebooks and other computers are overstocked in Russia, and retailers cannot get rid of them. Well, cannot sell them. For one simple reason, there's too little money. People don't buy them anymore, and they do not take out loans. They cannot borrow at 21% key interest rate. Consumer loans start around 35% annual. So, no money, and people start prioritize. What's the priority? Food. Everything else becomes less of a priority, and the companies cannot sell notebooks fast enough. Notebooks is not the only problem. I'm just giving you an example. Another problem is cars. Overstocking of Chinese cars in Russia. Some experts say that there's enough cars to last until April. Well, I've heard other experts say different numbers. I've heard a number of 4 years, meaning that there are enough Chinese cars overstocked in Russia to last for there's enough 4 years. 4 years. That is, it is kind of absolutely incredible. The reason, the key interest rate 21%. Car loans started probably with 31, 32. Chinese cars are generally crap, and they cost so much because the Chinese are using this situation to their own advantage. You know, they're not building any production facilities in Russia. They're simply manufacturing in China, bringing from China to Russia, and tripling the price and selling it to the Russians. Russians have no choice. There's no competition for Russian customers anymore. Therefore, pay the price. Now I want to show you something else. And whoever speaks Russian, those of you, please forgive me. This young lady swears and pretty hard words, but I decided to show you anyway. I made sound.
Ебанутые. Блядь. Морепродукты столько стоят.
Again, she's complaining about price of instant coffee.
У меня только один вопрос.
So one more question. Well, I have one question. Are you, and then there's a bad word. Look at that price, 1,400 rubles. Now, it's hard to believe this number. I mean, it's there, okay? And it's probably not in all stores in Russia, but it's there. It's the price that an instant coffee is sold at 1,400 rubles, $14 per this box. So to let you know, this was sold for, when I was still living in Russia, this was sold for about 300 rubles. 300 rubles, almost five-fold increase in instant coffee. And this young lady is absolutely furious. Okay. There is another news about food prices. Oops. Let me. Show you this price of. You're gonna like it. This price of a kilo of tomatoes, 3,079 rubles. Well, 3,080 rubles, really. 3,000 rubles for a kilo of tomatoes. It says they are from, let me just zero in, from Azerbaijan. They are imported. Quality, yeah, decent, I can't say the best, but somewhat decent. Anyway, it's something that I would actually buy and eat at the store. So you understand, 3,000 rubles is a price of a train ticket. I used to buy tomatoes, the most expensive potatoes, the best, the tastiest I remember were about 400 rubles, 400, and they were also imported from Azerbaijan and from Uzbekistan, because Uzbekistan historically is a grower of fantastic tomatoes. Okay, 400 rubles was a kilo of the most expensive tomatoes you could find in Moscow. Right now, 3,000, over 3,000, and they are not the best. Okay. Okay. What's next? Tangerines. Russians all favored tangerines, 1 kilo. Tangerines from Korea are 4,900 rubles, almost 5,000 rubles per kilo. I did not pay more than 150 rubles for tangerines when we lived in Russia. It's one of those things that I always bought for my family. My kids loved tangerines. Now, I have to be fair, and I gotta tell you that this price is taken at Azbuka Vkusa. It's like Trader Joe's in America. It's like the most expensive store for rich people, but still 5,000 rubles for a kilo of tangerines. And the price tag says that they're airplane delivered from South Korea, right? If I were living in Russia right now, I would not even come close to buying these tangerines. This is just simply insane. And I wouldn't even get close to buying those tomatoes for 3,000 per kilo. And then I understand this girl. She is very angry.
У меня только один вопрос.
She's one question. Beep, 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 beep. That's very, very
Блядь,
rude language.
морепродукты столько стоят.
Says this is what seafood, seafood products, fish and shellfish and stuff like that. That's how much costs. Well, that's what I call rude awakening for many Russian people. That's what you get when you are not interested in politics. And politics knock on your door. Knock, knock. 3,000 rubles for a kilo of tomatoes. 5,000 rubles for a kilo of tangerines. My mom receives a pension from the government in the amount of 12,000 rubles per month. So she can afford 2 kilos of tangerines and 1 kilo, a little less than 1 kilo of tomatoes. That's it. So that's a wake-up call to many, many people in Russia. I don't know how about you folks. Let me know down in the comments. It's expected, but I'm shocked by these prices. Okay. Another news comes from large companies all over Russia. This is a new trend. IT specialists, programmers, computer people are being fired by large numbers. That's according to Izvestia, a Russian newspaper, part of propaganda. And that newspaper always sugarcoats things. And then that's not sugarcoating it now, and it means pretty darn bad, okay? So the programmers are getting fired in large numbers. The demand for IT specialists has dropped to a minimum since 2022. Employers have reduced the number of internships and are trying not to hire new employees while trying to get rid of old ones. They no longer give indefinite contracts. They try to opt out for temporary work, temporary contracts, and they are controlling budgets for programmers. There are still specialists in high demand, but they are highly qualified programmers and so forth, and there are not too many of them. Now, why is this happening? This is a sign of economic demise. The companies are trying to save on payroll. Plain and simple. Who is the most paid, highly paid employee in the company? An IT specialist. First to go. So they're basically cutting all the investment and development programs, and they are trying to shrink their personnel budgets as much as possible. So it means that there will be fewer IT people, and those who remain, they will be doing more work. Okay, plain and simple. This is a sign of demise, and it is 2025, and it's happening, and it's intensifying. So enough of numbers for this week. Before I finish, a very subjective opinion I would like to give you on the status of Russian economy. I monitor every single day. I get hundreds of different feeds of information, and I analyze, I pick information, the numbers, the facts, the events that I find important, and I put them down. And then a lot of them are numbers and figures in events. That's objective. But there's something, as I call it, the objective understanding of Russian economy. And I have it. It's some kind of a gut feeling I have. Looking at the trends, looking at new developments, looking at how things are turning out. And this is my very subjective opinion, okay? And this is the subjective opinion on the status of Russian economy. I am seeing the second stage. They have started talking of the slowdown and troubles. Putin has started doing something unthinkable. He has started admitting problems. That's the first step for him. And the second step will be he will start blaming others for these troubles, okay? And this is clearly the second stage. The first stage of sugarcoating, of saying, oh, everything is great, we're circumventing sanctions, and this sanctions are making us stronger and all of that, it's over. Because money is out. You cannot put more and more stimulus into the economy. You cannot subsidize anymore. You cannot bail out. There are too many fires going on. Okay, so the second stage, the blame game, the finger pointing has started. That we are seeing something incredible. 2025 will bring a lot of events, tragic events, a lot of deaths, a lot of flying out of windows, a lot of arrests, a lot of suspicious deaths. We will see a lot of people getting fired, getting blamed for the situation. And we will see further demise of Russia and its economy. Please stay tuned. There's a lot more to come. Carthago delenda est.